July 15th, 2021 Public Works Committee meeting to order. So, everybody should have received the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, thank you.
Gonna be doing that again.
Yep.
Yep.
Reverse roles.
All right, motion carried. I forgot for the roll call. Mr. Sante,
Schrader,
here.
Gallops,
Here.
Kane,
Here.
Whitaker.
All right, sorry to be out of order. Public communication and comment? See none? All right, in your packet was the approval of our last meeting on May 13th, 2021. Hopefully you've had time to review those, look those over.
Look good. I wouldn't hear it.
But we would entertain a motion to accept them as published.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have 3 discussion items for this evening. The first being the sidewalk replacement program update and discussion. Mike?
Yep, so Ed and I worked on combining some documents that we currently had and some information documents that Adam had, and put that all together in this packet, explaining process that we were looking at, along with a map, trying to work through the city, proposed map of that, which we talked about dividing into 5 areas, something like that, over the course of the next 5 years, about bidding it out and things like that, for you to take a look at and talk about. A lot of the criteria that was here, Al, was already in place from a standard, what we look for in sidewalks. Okay, so we didn't reinvent anything, we just took some of those pieces and we worked on some stuff for bidding of this to get the best pricing.
So it looks like there are a couple options for payment for this. One being the owner can set up a 3-year payment program
Yep.
that is reflected on the tax bill. And the other one would be they can pay it outright up to $1,200.
Yeah, so I think the last meeting, we all kind of reviewed what we were doing, kind of the general need of everything, and how we were currently spending around $25,000 in total every year on sidewalk replacement, getting done very little. So currently we split 50-50. So without the city budgeting more on our end to do more, that's a challenge. So the 2 ideas, and this is kind of where this all has to click, Mike and I talked earlier today, is the funding aspect of it. Option 1 would be that the property owner would be responsible for the full amount with the opportunity to have that paid over a period of time. And then the second option would be kind of a hybrid approach of saying the property owner is responsible for the first X amount, and the city would then cover the remaining amount. With the idea that I don't know when the last time we had somebody without doing their whole entire block, that would be that amount, but, and this is open to discussion, or keeping it the same. The option C would be keeping it the same and budgeting probably triple the amount of money we currently do to try to get more done. At the very least, triple. We're probably looking at about a need to spend a budget about $100,000 to even begin catching up for the first cycle through this, and that may not even get us to where we need to be. So those are kind of the 3 approaches we looked at. We're that is the biggest key in all this, because obviously right now, the standard is 50/50. But to make this a reality, to start addressing the greater problem, funding is, everything we've done after this, I think, is pretty well established. The idea too of bidding it out and getting the best price, Mike can talk a little bit about that, some of the challenges there. But we would do that every year, every other year. And then, a contractor would generally know they would have more work and get a better price for it, versus now the price per replacement and price per grind is pretty high because we are limited to $25,000. So, a lot of it, then the cost of it is higher. So it's a splitting it 50/50 with the property owner when we aren't doing it efficiently is costing the property owner more than it should, already. So, and Mike can speak to some of that too.
Yeah, exactly, and what I've seen is obviously where prices are on the rise. We're doing less and less, and that causes our price also to go up. The contractors just don't want that little bit of work. And this is a letter that was given to the mayor, and I'm so happy that Mr. Wrench did my homework for me, complaining about the cost. And he hit it on the head, with the cost is gone up. We don't have a leverage to get the quantity of work in here.
Wow.
So while our square foot was down in price, to bring somebody in, they have what is it called? They have
Mobilization.
mobilization
all that
and
stuff.
all
It's
kinds of
just to
stuff
get
on
them
top
here.
of that.
Yep.
And that's what drives that price up.
Yep.
They gave me a great square foot price, but when I applied that over the number of feet we were doing with the mobilization and whatever they put on there, the price is higher.
Concrete truck's gonna charge X amount to show up, no matter how many yards they get rid of.
These guys are so efficient
Yeah.
coming in to do this, it's unbelievable.
Yep.
And they want quantity.
Sure.
They want their guys to go to a location, stay there, do the work, get it done for multiple days, and then move on to the next job. So he did a great job on that, I appreciate that.
So right now, what happened here was the sidewalks were not in compliance. So you bid this out.
I didn't bid this out. I gave it to the I gave it to Safe Steps. They identified everything, and I didn't specifically bid it out. I gave it to somebody to put a price on it, yeah.
Okay,
And he came back and the square foot was way less, but the mobilization was higher.
okay, so he did it for square
I don't
foot,
even know
but
if-
then he had all the added add-on fees.
Yep, and
That
this
they
guy's
did.
been in here every year, so
Yeah.
he does a great job.
Like in a case, I mean, and I don't, so this was Watson, so they're wider, but still they're.
They vary on that, but
Yeah.
yes, that really doesn't,
So it was 4 squares and it was,
that.
almost
his was-
$100 a square, or no, $200 a square. So he had, because he was paying half of it.
Yes,
So, yeah,
his
that's,
cost was $376.
so he was paying for all the fees of getting here and doing everything.
Yeah.
Because then they get the truck in here.
It was spread out over everybody, yes.
How many is everybody? Were there a lot? I mean, did you
we-
have a lot?
We brought that up last time. I don't have that information with me, but
Okay.
it was down Watson. And then some residual areas around,
Okay,
and a couple other areas over to Woodside.
okay, so there were several.
So they spent their $25,000 in a confined area.
Our
Okay.
goal, so I think we have 40 45-ish miles of sidewalk. We wanted to do around 5 miles. We did 1.2.
Yeah, I
Goes
don't-
into
$25,000.
Right.
That was in the last one we had. You weren't here.
Okay, so you took the, like you say, you want 5, you got 1 mile, and that was to tear up and replace.
And grind.
And grind.
That
So-
included grinding
That
too.
included the grinding, so
Wow.
the grinding is cheaper than the replacement. So to get a value for the resident is we grind. First,
Okay.
replace where needed.
So
But
did you
even-
do it like this, or did you guys just pick the worst spots in the city and
No,
do it?
I have it laid out in a clockwise manner
Okay,
to circle the
so
city.
you have this. It was basically this?
It's like that, but I'll
Okay.
just do it in clockwise. Clockwise, this is actually the garbage pickup map.
Okay. I thought it looked familiar.
So what you're proposing, Mike, is we identify these regional areas of the city.
And that's what we did here.
One time, and this region gets this year,
Correct.
and they come in and they do a service, is gonna be much less because that scope of work is higher,
Yes.
correct?
That is what we are
And we're looking at an option of the homeowner pays all of it and has the option of spreading that cost over 3 years in their tax.
We had a couple options here that we threw in there.
Okay.
Homeowner pays it all, pays up to $1,200. If we decide to keep it at 50/50, we would have to increase our budget.
Well, there's no way I can
Fourfold.
see doing the homeowner paying everything. Because
On-
half the people have sidewalks, right? And half don't.
There's 40-some miles.
Right, so, but here it's saying half the frontage of the streets have sidewalks. So you got half that don't. But everybody has the ability to use the sidewalks. So you got someone with no sidewalk that can leave and go walk the sidewalks and not have to pay a dime to do it. And then you're gonna have, especially in my neighborhood, people on fixed incomes, where if they have to replace 4 and it's $752, it will devastate them. And we're just looking for so much trouble here. People can't afford to pay that. And the other thing it's going to do, I mean, we got the neutral ground there. So the city's responsible for the trees. Do we let them, if we let them grow up and crack the sidewalk, now the owner has to pay for the sidewalk?
That's how it's been.
Yes, and it shouldn't be. It just shouldn't. I mean, we shouldn't have one homeowner pay for everything, no way. We gotta come up with the money somewhere else and have everyone, because everyone can use the sidewalks. I just think it should be spread. I don't even like the 50/50. To me, that's not even right. Because you have, I mean, people are taking care of the sidewalks. They're removing the snow every winter so that half the people without sidewalks can enjoy them. And now we're expecting them to pay to keep them up that way too. That's a non-starter for me. No way. I'd be looking at the other way and let's find the money somewhere.
Okay.
So I'm just telling you it won't happen. So we're gonna continue to bring this back, like year after year, showing you the amount of money we spend and how far we go with
Yep,
this.
let's
because-
just come up with as much
Yeah,
as we can.
And it's 50/50, and there are direct benefits to having sidewalks along your property.
Yes,
There are-
versus not,
Yeah,
yes,
there are.
and I understand
And there
that.
are there's added value, there are things like that that go along with that, so this is not just a negative. And this has been a long contentious issue here, and we're not
Yes.
trying to make it that, we're just
Well, that's-
identifying this need, and there are significant complaints and people who are lobbying us with complaints regarding the overall scope of sidewalks in our community.
Right.
It's a $7-8 million asset that we are spending $12,000 a year, actually $12,500 a year
Oh,
to
you gotta
fix.
be, okay, I thought we were up to 50.
No.
Yeah, we gotta like,
We're spending $12,500
Yeah.
a year. That's,
yeah.
we can
that's-
try in the budget to prioritize more, we'll try to
Yes.
get there, but we want to try to do this strategically as well, so we're
Yeah.
not just, we just did Watson, okay?
Yeah.
At this rate, we won't be back to Watson for 20 years,
Right,
which is also not acceptable, because it's gonna cost the next property owner on that to replace the whole darn thing, because it hasn't been touched for 20 years now, 10
right.
times more than what it would to just go and grind it today.
Yes.
So,
We gotta get caught up
mhm.
and we gotta keep it up. I mean, we do, but we gotta come up with the money to do it. But having a homeowner, expecting one homeowner to pay for that section is
I think that's
just
standard
wrong.
throughout the communities. I don't think there's any 50-50 share or the city pays it all that I know of, do you?
It's very rare anymore. That 50/50, there may be a few,
Yeah,
but yeah.
if everyone had sidewalks and everyone had the money to keep it up, that'd be one thing, but that's not how it is.
Oops, sorry. It was my son. The alarm.
That doesn't mean you didn't,
Adam, you quoted a number in the budget that we would, right now we're at 12.5. What was the number you had, 100?
I would say that to even begin to get close to a good pricing and get things addressed, we would probably need to budget $100,000. So that would be, $50,000, so it's 38 or 37.5 increase.
More we would need to find in the budget to.
Yeah, because
If
the
we
other,
stayed with the
the other half comes from the property owner. And if we can commit to that, we can bid it out and we'll, get the best pricing, get an idea of what we're gonna do. And then lock contractors in and get a more predictable price annually for people. And there's a better way of just getting a better price too, but it all comes down to paying for it. And that's gonna be a significant ask in the next year's budget. And quite frankly, we may be short too. So that, we don't know until we know.
yeah,
Right, right.
right. Well, concrete prices can keep going up, labor prices can keep going up, you just don't know. But doing nothing's not an option, I mean, I understand that. But I just hate to see someone be economically devastated because we have dropped the ball over the years and not gone over there just to keep the sidewalk in decent shape. And now they're having to foot the whole bill for that one piece in front of their house. That's just not right.
Part of the bidding process for a contractor, would you take them to this region, shall we say, of the city, let them look at it in order for them to assess how much work they're going to have and those type of things? That would be part of the bidding process, correct?
So it's a
Yes.
design and build
Well,
type of thing.
So what I would say is we're kind of just guesstimating out, how much work we're gonna have for the contractor in the contract bidding documents. They then provide a price, so if it's like $4 for a replacement per foot or whatever it is, or $125 for a square to be replaced, we just try to get a guesstimate of what we think that area is going to take. We then will have somebody go market to get a full scope of what that work is. We can have a sample done as well throughout the community, Yep, so we can have a sample done through the community to get an idea of what really the need is within each area to kind of target that. Contractors aren't gonna waste their time with us, not knowing they're gonna have the work to do all the work up front to tell us how much.
I think
So I mean, there's a mix of things we can do there. And at the end of the day, really if we can say put $100,000 in the budget, split it 50/50, and we get somebody to, we mark everything, we get an estimate of what it's gonna cost, we then can prioritize. Okay, we can do $100,000 worth of grinding and no replacements in that district, and we just do grinding throughout the entire city through a 5-year cycle, and then the next time around do sidewalk. There are ways we can manage this, I think. It's just gonna get, it's not gonna be, it's never gonna be enough.
Right.
But I think there's other ways we can approach it too, but I don't know.
I know, I think you make a good point, Adam, on, grinding's a lot less money.
Yep.
So perhaps, maybe the first route we go, and if I'm wrong here, and that's okay, is maybe in one area, we just do all the grinding. Okay?
Yep.
And we circle the city, and the grinding company can identify the replacements
Yeah.
that need to be done. Then we have a good take on what each property has, because that's the most. Say for instance, I'm throwing stuff out here, okay? Say for instance, in 2022, the top right part of the, we want to do the grinding in this area. Okay, I know I have a contractor that'll do that grinding, they'll identify, but we don't do the R&R, we just do the grinding. Now we know what needs to be bid out the next year, or the next time we come around roughly, and the location.
Yep.
I don't know, does that make
Yeah, and then
sense or not sense?
I think, yeah, and then I think if because it's gonna come, gonna be more cost effective, and
Yeah,
then replacement and, removal and replacement of sidewalks, we can maybe look at as a case-by-case basis. Because, I would guess that 80 to 90% of our sidewalks are in decent shape in terms of not needing to be completely reconstructed.
from what I've seen out there, I think we have our pockets, if you will,
Yeah.
of areas that are in real replacement need.
Right, they're
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then we have the other side where
a little grinding would go
a
along.
little grinding would get us to where we need to be.
Well, if you bring a contractor in, like 2022, just get a couple of contractors in here, let them assess it, and see what it, and get a bid for, they can show what they're gonna grind, what needs to be replaced, and divide it in two. And then do a little bit of both, depending on, pick the worst ones. We're gonna have to do triage here, because we're way behind doing it. So, but if you have them come in and do a whole section within 5 years, we've done triage on the 5 anyway, and we're getting rid of the worst stuff. And we're gonna have to buy time. It took a long time to get into this mess, and we can't get out of it in a year.
Yeah, the only way to get out of it is you throw money at it.
Yep, that's it. But
It's
if
a
you,
painful truth.
yeah, but if we start here and just see, we may be pleasantly surprised. We're not gonna be, but it sounded good. So, it's just, construction costs are just insane right now.
So just out of curiosity, I think, as far as liability concerns, anything with the sidewalk, because it's city property, wouldn't fall on the homeowner, would it?
It does fall on them.
It does, even though it's, okay. So,
The city is required to do a minimum of $25,000 worth a year, correct? Through
That
the-
number has been thrown out there. I would assume that's from the insurance.
From the insurance company. That's
Minimum.
what I was told. minimum.
okay,
And we are doing the
It
minimum.
Okay.
says the city's liability insurance carrier
Mhm.
says the city of Ripon's liable for damage or injury that may occur as a result of the deterioration of the sidewalks.
Mhm.
So, and I think that's a 50-50 thing too. I believe if somebody does a header on your sidewalk, your insurance company, the homeowners is gonna have to get involved too, but it's
Mostly
gonna be
in
both.
winter, yes. I mean, if they're not maintaining and removing the snow and ice and everything.
Right, that's where
That's
you're
where the
gonna-
property owner is gonna be held more responsible. In this case, the city will be held most responsible because the maintenance of them, the grinding, the heaves,
Yeah,
the lift this big up above and somebody trips and falls is,
If it's
Yeah.
been brought to my attention, I fix it.
yes,
Okay, it goes on the list and I fix
yeah,
it.
yeah, when they're really bad,
But if somebody's out running and they, there is a big lip and or a chunk falls out or whatever, and they're looking to,
It's gonna go back to the person with the deepest pockets. And
Yep.
that would be
that's
the
gonna be the city.
Right.
city.
but the city would be liable anyway because it's city property. Unless the
there
homeowner's
would
not
be,
removing
there would be
snow.
there would be a claim put in
Okay.
and our insurance carrier, EMC, would
Yep.
take that on and,
And
somebody
work
would
with-
determine if the city was
Yeah.
negligent.
I'm not
Okay.
a lawyer, so.
And we're not,
You know?
and we're
Yeah.
not gonna like our rates the next year from the insurance carrier.
It would seem to make sense that if we could focus on the grinding in a particular region, we would find something that, a section or two that would endanger the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the community. We could address that matter with that particular property owner.
Okay. Yeah.
But I like the idea of increasing the scope of work, looking at the grinding, and maybe and we might have to find money in the budget to do that.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to find more money and get this thing going, because
Or we're gonna
Way behind.
continue to be behind.
yep,
Yeah.
Does that give you some direction from this committee, Mike and
I think
Adam?
Adam and I will work on it.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I think whatever we can do to get ourselves far enough ahead to not be so behind that we can never put in a 5-year rotation plan, right? I mean, because I think this makes sense for just overall health of the sidewalks and lower maintenance, but to where, we're not just all of a sudden having to replace everything because it's past the point of being able to.
yep. In 20 years, we'll be caught up.
By the time my wheelchair is rolling down these streets, I want it to be smooth.
He'll be hovering.
Yeah. Does liability fall then?
Probably right. There will be no wheels.
We were supposed to have flying cars by 2000. I didn't see any flying cars.
I just seen one.
They can't even figure out how to make rental car companies move.
Anything more on that particular
Nope.
topic? Or?
Nope.
Okay. City GIS.
I wanted to bring this to your attention. It's something we've been sort of working on internally with Mike and then as well as the utilities. So, how familiar is everybody with GIS, what it does, what it can do, can't do? No idea?
I'm familiar.
Okay, so it's a geographic information system, and it's basically asset management for city infrastructure and city assets. Water, sewer, storm sewer, roads, could go as far as trees, cemetery, zoning, all of that kind of stuff. We currently do not have capabilities or great capabilities with that level of software or technology. We are working off of a lot of old maps and a lot of old CAD drawings and paper, index cards, and from like a zoning map perspective, we have like one map And every layer is over upon every layer upon every layer. When I started, one of the first things I noticed was we didn't have anything. And in talking to utility staff, there has been, some general desire to implement something to better handle this stuff. So, MSA, who we've been working with, and I have worked with to implement GIS this community with, I would say very successfully, put together this proposal. It is based on a general ArcGIS, or it's kind of like a general online service. So you pay for that. You pay an annual subscription based on your number of users, and then they customize and build out everything for you. Okay. You can see through here there are phases, and then tasks associated with each one of those phases to get us to a point where this is implemented. They've kind of shown how this works, where, yep, implementation costs a lot to begin with, and as time goes on, the price goes down because you're mostly dealing with training and just a few, fees here and there. But it all depends on how far you want to take it, okay? It's a step-by-step approach. So just kind of how this would work from the city's end is we would begin working with them. There would be costs associated with some of those setup things with ArcGIS. And then we would look at using basically Fond du Lac County's GIS map as a basis with all the parcel information. That would kind of be the base for everything. They share that information. Phase 2 in this, after setting kind of that basic stuff up, logins, things like that, phase our city administrative maps up, so zoning, wards, TIF districts, voting maps, all of which can be public facing. So if somebody wants to look up their address and see what, where they're at, what zone they're in, anything like that, boom, it is there. The next would be working with staff, primarily in the utility, Mike staff with stormwater, to GPS survey and collect in the field every single one of our water shutoff valves, our hydrants, catch basins. It would not go as far as the customer shutoff valve at the water on the private, in the sidewalk or in the. We didn't go that far. So from MSA would, with about 2 centimeters or 2 inches, of accuracy, go walk every single street and map everything. Okay. Water, storm, get it all. Then use the next phase would be taking our existing information, so our existing maps, and connecting those things together, getting pipe size, getting any other information we want to document into that system. Okay. Populate all that information into a stormwater, a sanitary, and a water map that we then can sit on, sit and know what we have. Everything. Just click on the pipe. If it's a water pipe, is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 6 inches? Is it 8? Is it 12? When do we think it was put in place? On and on and on. The next phase would be configuring web and mobile applications. So basically what we will have is a general page that opens up. We log in and we have access as staff to every layer of information. And basically you can, if you have the right credentials, if there's something you find or something that's a mistake, you can change it right then and there, and it's saved forever. Okay, so from a tracking standpoint, from an up to, keeping things up to date. If you find something, if Mike has a catch basin in the road that they say is going straight, but it goes this way, he can go in and change that. So when we're sitting there looking at the road and we start digging on something, or we need to do a relocate, we have a general idea what stuff is. The big thing then becomes configuring maintenance and inspection apps. That is where, you've built information, you've built all these maps, and you put it into action for staff. You can do hydrant flushings on site. Take a tablet, flush a hydrant, how long were you there, when were you there, what's the pressure, put it in the map, it'll sit there, ping it. So instead of paper records or just guessing what you did for the year, you have all the hydrant flushing, valve exercising for water utility, have to do that. Main breaks, sewer backups, condition inspections of manholes, anything and everything that you want to do, you can track.
Road condition.
Road conditions, so Pazer ratings, so when Mike every 2 years or 3 years has to rate every road, they can take that information, and the ones are red and the 10s are green. Everything in between is,
Yes, so now you can actually define a plan. This road here is red and we have a lot of utilities underneath it that need repair. You can align all these together.
yeah, so from when the rubber hits the road,
standpoint.
from a planning standpoint, if you have all this information, you're collecting information on water main breaks, sewer backups, all of this stuff, all of a sudden you have a map that has, a road that is a rating of 2, you have 3 water main breaks on the road in the last 5 years, you have a sewer backup, and it's in the boundary of a TIF district. Why not prioritize that road in a capital improvement plan and use TIF dollars to now help pay for it? Okay, so from a purely planning and just the overall assessment of the condition and assisting you in money and where you have to fix things, this becomes an incredible tool. On top of, for primarily the utilities, we can build out dashboards for PSC reporting. So when we have to report to the PSC, or when the DNR comes through in a sanitary survey and determines that we are not adequately water utility, partially because we do not have accurate records, or we can't pull records very easily because we are currently managing them spreadsheet or not managing them at all. And they ask you, how many hydrants did you flush this past year? You pull up the screen, it has done 32 hydrants this year. You connect the pieces and dots to everything. What is, the dashboard we could this year, every year? How many gallons of water loss? You have that on here. It connects to your SCADA system. So you're in a live format. So and say, hey guys, I'm here for an inspection. I'm here for a sanitary survey. I want a list of all your hydrant inspections. You go into the GIS system, you download a Excel spreadsheet, boom, here's everything we've done for the year, here's the date, here's the pressure, bam, 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 bam. Cross-connection inspections, lead inspections, all can be done via this system and in the field, documented, bam, take a what material is coming in instead of so digitizing everything and having that record permanently in place. We would go and try to get an urban forestry tree grant to go through every single road and every boulevard, get the tree species, the DBH, and what we need to do.
Tree.
Yep. Does it
What do
need
we
to be
need to do
taken
with
down? Does it need to be, boom, right there. Cemetery
Cemetery.
as well. We can map cemetery. And basically, if somebody wanted to search for a relative, they could go through the system and search for that and have it right there.
Send you a GPS location, the person can walk out there with their iPhone and go right to that location.
So this is all stuff we would build to?
Yeah.
We're using paper. And when I say that, you know, when I say that, you know, like managing the utility, a part of this will address that deficiency and known deficiency. And the reason why the DNR is saying that, there are communities all across the state of Wisconsin that have implemented this and are using it. And this is the standard. This is an expensive, grand thing. This is basic nowadays. And the utility, I think, with them, and talking it through with all the water guys primarily, because this is more water-based than some of it's sewer. Mike as well, the employee into this direction and starting this process. The overall cost to just, you know, kind of get the ball rolling in year one is around with probably another $20,000 to $30,000 over the next 2-3 years to implement other aspects of this. There are other layers of this that you can do and build on. You can use it for work orders. You can track just about anything you want to build out code enforcement apps, so on and so forth. So this touches many different aspects of the city. From a utility standpoint, primarily is something that, quite frankly, we should have been doing at least a few years ago already. We wanted to bring it forth because we've been pushing working out with MSA and pushing them to kind of get us an idea of what it's going to cost. You kind of see their approach. Obviously, we'd be working with people that I've worked with in the past to do this same thing. In my maps, we got kind of comfortable with it. By the time we left, we had full-blown implementation of iPads in the field, doing cross-connect service, copper, all of that right there on an iPad in someone's home, having them sign off on the cross-connection. So, and
How long did that take, Adam?
it took 6-7 years.
Okay, that's,
You know, it takes a lot to get it up and running, and you know, I was in it basically every day. I mean, it just is that useful of a system. You know, I would say 5 years to really get to the confidence level of putting in iPads. I think here, with the number of staff we have, I think we can do it a little bit quicker, and it's evolving too. I mean, MSA, when we first started, you know, and did it 8 years ago, they weren't doing these dashboards. So then they presented that to us. We said, "Yep, can we put that in place?" "Yep, okay." So, you know, once this stuff is in place, then your staff have to implement it. So, you know, we don't just want to put it, you know, just the mapping alone. I'm just saying, the mapping alone it's a huge value.
The work order system
Yep.
is huge. I mean, I found that outlets that flow into our creeks, not only were blocked, they were completely blocked. That's why this was flooding down here and the manholes were popping off, because over off
heard
of
that story
Ripon,
before, haven't we?
was completely blocked. There's no inspection. We didn't inspect it annually. Well, with my work orders, the work orders. But those are the things that, you know, if we can eliminate some of these things that are happening, a lot
How
of these
smart is
problems
this
go-
thing?
How smart is this?
This?
How If you, let's take exercising hydrants.
Mhm.
And can you put in there that you're exercising a hydrant X amount of years?
Yeah.
And it will automatically, once you have all the hydrants in there, it will let you know which ones are due to be
I don't think it has that capability yet to alert you to what needs to be done, but what we can, so every hydrant should.
Okay,
So what it does do is it ensures that that one was, by looking at it, when you go to the map, it'll have a flushing, and the last time it was done.
okay,
So it'll show, like, here's the date, and if they had the pressure on it, or if they know how long they did it, or how many gallons per minute, on water loss, you know, because there's a whole thing on water loss.
yep,
So how smart is it? It's only as smart as what you put into it.
right,
Can get to a point where, you know, when you do something, instead of having it on a spreadsheet or in a piece of paper, and the DNR asks you for it, you show them, here's what we all did, you know, and they may get to that point. I mean, there probably is some level of
Add-on.
eventually, as this grows, because even when we first implemented it, there were that there are now, and
Okay.
so it evolves, and you got to sort of crawl before you walk and walk before you run.
right.
So yeah,
We,
So it works like a maintenance management system somewhat.
mapping,
Somewhat, yes.
yeah, mapping.
I assume you'd be able to like run queries, pull lists of, you know, like if you're talking about fire hydrants, you can pull out like a list and sort it.
Exactly.
So instead of finding saved documents. And,
Save
yeah.
documents.
Oh my gosh.
Where did I put that?
And-
So
and-
what this will do is keep you from having to travel everywhere.
Yeah.
And it starts documenting the institutional knowledge of our staff in a platform that is saved digitally until, you know, so you document a water main break on a street, and it's a problem street, and that person leaves, you know, yeah, that street always, or whatever, it just,
Yeah.
it can begin to build
You can
out
look at the history of everything.
everything.
They probably, when they put it in?
Yes,
Yep.
can.
Everything.
So when I'm in my hover wheelchair,
Then you
all
can
these
hover
years
over
from now,
and
I'll be
see
like, we know all about that hydrant.
That's a genie carpet.
did we not bring this as a possible use of the surplus funds that we
The
have?
rescue
We did.
plan funds, yes. As a list item, this is something, when I first started, I said, we need to start looking at this. You know, how we fund is important to ask. I mean, obviously, there's a cost up front and there's a cost annually. You know, really by the end of it, it should, if we implement 5 or 6 or so, it should cost a few grand every year, and that's it. You're just paying for your subscriptions. Yes, it can, because it's water sewer eligibility. I think used for funding, we do need to pursue this. I think the idea would be, we could use that as a backup option to pay for this. You know, see how the end of the year plays out, and if we have funds available, because this will be split over multiple funds.
Right.
It'll be split water, sewer, it'll
Yeah.
be split over TIF districts, it'll be split
Okay.
over multiple funds. So, and,
I think there is
Yeah.
a grant to do the trees
Mhm.
from the DNR also. So
Okay. So
I believe that is correct. If I'm wrong.
yep, so we will, so in, same thing in the former community, we got a DNR grant, we had a consultant come through and map out every tree. And it's a 50-50 grant with the DNR, but it's something we definitely should.
this will say,
Yeah.
Yeah, just in
Work smarter, not
efficiency.
harder.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So what do you need from this group?
If you want to recommend moving it forward to the council for, you know, for approval or consideration, because we can get some of this done this year yet, we can, and we, that's kind of, I think, what I'm, if you're willing,
So, I would like to make a motion to move this forward.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Those opposed? Bring it forward.
All right, if you want, I can even do demos and things at the council meeting, we'll see. But
All right. The last discussion item we have is capital plan 5 years, so.
I don't believe
It was not.
It was not.
So the first thing is, I think I had one circled. I gave Al the circled one. didn't I?
You know, I didn't.
Right here.
Say it.
You know, it is a little small. So there's three spots on here, for capital. First one was the buildings and grounds. Okay, so I looked at this over the next 5 years. We had talked about controls, and this was also Al talked about in the rescue funds.
Yep.
I want to bring that forward here. We talked, you DPW roof down by me, we're looking at possibly something being done in 2023. I did add the council carpet for the council chambers, and any of this is all adjustable, and some roofing stuff, and insulate the walls at DPW building. So again, if you have other things that can be added from or whatever, we'll get those on there. But I think the big, as a 22 budget approaches, is the controls for the building here. So,
That air handlers.
and you're probably gonna know more about this than I will.
I don't know about that.
So, they went through, I mean J&H, and they are our provider or our maintenance crew for this building. So we do. So they looked at everything, and they gave us a couple options. And this is from 2019. And the price then was $105,000. Okay, so I did add, last year they would have held about this year, but they did have 2 phases if possible on here, 1 phase, 2 phase, they can do. So I did put it in as, get it done.
At 125.
At 125. Is in here, the controls, everything,
So you're
for
replacing
these.
the whole unit and controls.
Just the controls. They're gonna add on to these with these controls and be able to control everything in
Okay.
there. Building control integration. It is not replacing that.
Okay.
So,
It's replacing the blowers though, that the boiler. Do you have a steam boiler?
replacing the boiler.
Okay, so
Nope.
you got a steam boiler, so
Um,
you're just looking to replace the controls.
All the controls in the air handling system,
Yeah,
be able to control everything on the screen.
okay.
Yep, we'll be able to figure out what's going on with the system.
Okay.
I've struggled with a lot, actually. We've struggled throughout the years in leveling the heating system. So I had some balancing test
Yep.
for the heating system. And that data is at J&H, so hopefully we can resolve some of that.
Are
But
they putting the newer steam? So all that's, it's just purely control.
purely controls.
Okay.
Mhm. Yep. See, you do know more about this than I do.
No. In ignorance here.
So you're gonna incorporate this into the,
I am going to put this
To the
in the
2022.
2022 budget
Budget.
unless you tell me you see something else in there.
Was gonna help the boiler last longer too.
Yes.
So
Not running more efficiently.
I'm not asking it to go forward. This will be in there, unless I'm directed different.
But that's probably sooner than later to do that,
I
because it
think it
sure
should
is
be
going
done.
to.
It probably should have been done.
Yeah, it will definitely help the
Mhm.
system last longer.
Yeah. Issues throughout the winter that you guys don't even know about,
Yeah, I can imagine.
and sometimes in the summer.
Been built in the 60s, and we have boilers, I know.
So, okay,
All right.
The next one is vehicle and equipment. So place one of our pickups, and we're looking at a $30,000 Ford F-150. I'm not a Ford guy, so I'm thinking about that. And we're using through, what's the company? Who's our government?
It's just through, VendorNet through the state.
150 is just a half-ton pickup.
Yep, that's all we're looking for.
Okay,
Yeah,
so, because it
'cause
says
it would be a
one ton.
Ford.
I don't want
Four-door.
ton on here.
Yeah.
You have 1 ton. I was wondering how you were getting a 1-ton pickup.
That's, was
Well,
my,
actually, I got
Yes.
yeah, I did get a 1-ton for 40,000 with a tip box on it.
Really?
Yeah.
This
Government price?
thing is incredibly,
Yeah.
you can buy a pretty,
Okay.
Yeah, this will
Nice.
replace our green half-ton pickup that is,
Your system?
I don't know if there's many of them like that. So that's what I'm looking at to present, or to bring forward there. The capital project funds, I got some good news on that, and you guys already heard it about the, for 2023 upgrades for the stop and go lights. That's what that $20,000 is. I didn't know it got approved for, that's gonna move out in
Okay.
2023. Adam and I are still working on the capital projects for streets,
Okay.
okay? And when we're working back and forth with the, obviously, the utilities and the streets to see what we can do in funding, so. Short up, and that should be prepared for our capital. All right?
very good. Any other questions on the? All right,
No.
project updates, reports, anything else, Mike?
Yeah, I got a baked cake here. No,
I can't read it from here.
that's all right, I'll go through it. So staff updates, budget tracking, so I do have what I call that I watch. And I just want to show you where we're at, what's going on a little bit on the budget. And I can explain where we're at. So it's pretty simple. The blue line is budget. The actual expenses. So as you've seen, we were tracking good. April, May comes along, we start to get busier. All right. June hits, and July, these are our busy months. This is when we are bringing summer help on.
Okay.
We have a lot of work orders. We had $24,000 that hit our $42,000 that hit our budget unexpectedly through the super fund out here, which Adam and I are talking about. I purchased a 1-ton baby dump truck, dollars
Oh, okay.
that was in budget. We had some repairs to the chipper that needed to be done, that was about $6,000. We had a large mower repair, that was $5,000. So there was a lot of stuff being done, and there continues. So we'll see a retraction in our spending over the course of the next month or two,
Okay.
as a lot of this up. Okay? Any questions?
Nope.
So we do track the brush pickup data. Some of you may have seen this, some of you may have not. With the changes that were made, with how we pick up brush and call in. So there's 3 spots on this data. Number of stops, number of hours, and number of people. So we're performing to be, I believe, if not better, at the amount that we're picking up based on the amount of people and the hours. So we're not, if you look back in July, or what is that, July?
19.
August of 19, we might have had a storm. I'm thinking that was when we
Yeah.
had a storm.
Oh, yeah.
And so we
Yeah.
things in that. So it's
So
good
we
to,
might see an uptick here after this.
no, actually we fared very well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very good. Yes. I actually had no calls
Wow.
for flooding or anything.
Wow.
So that's something we track. Disposal ticket usage. Something to take a look at. We kind of just keep an eye on that. I had enough. Yearly tickets and regular tickets are on there. You guys can look at that later. Yearly tickets versus used tickets.
Okay.
This is the free dump tickets. Okay, so we're 24 and we've used 71 of them have been used.
Okay.
Okay? Cemetery data. Off of here, this will tell you the amount of revenue that's coming in. You can see niches sold, you can see monument permits. Over $38,000 in that particular department.
How's our columbarium doing?
It's doing good.
Good.
We have several people in there now. Some of the nameplates have been engraved. They look amazing. And there is, with that, has been put in place. It is, the cement is poured, and it is grass seeded outward, and is working on the landscaping with a local vendor to beautify that area.
All right, what's the WH&G?
Which one?
What is the old WH&G? I'm just,
I don't know what she had in there. That I don't know.
okay.
The other thing that I've changed is how we dispose of our metal. That was in here for the time that I've been here, and apparently he's been here 4 years. So for the time I've been here, we've brought in, has been brought in. I did change the vendor to be more, if you will, trackable through company a couple months ago, and we have already made 2 dumps on that to a tune of over $800.
Nice.
So also number of work orders completed, so we do track the number of work orders completed. 2018 is when I like to see how we're doing, you know, if you will. This can vary, not everything is in there. We're about halfway through the season. or through the year, and I think we were upwards of over 700 work orders compared to last for the whole year. So that is tracking very well. We are getting things done. The guys are doing a great job. Road work, we are fixing the failing manholes that are sinking. Those ones that we've done, we do have a new process for that and new technology that makes it go faster. So that's a positive. Catch basin repair will start over to 6 weeks. We have a storm drain issue over, I think it was 548 West Fond du Lac. We need to do some landscaping and things for that to get the water to get to the creek. That'll come up in September. We'll be fixing the heat next week. Parkway Terrace is on schedule. Manhole leveling, there's some things that have been out there for a while. We're bringing in some of those for a trial to try to smooth out some of our roads. This also.
A motorcycle, thanks you.
Yep, yep. And centerline painting in the city, that's done by Fond du Lac County. They'll be in here and we'll be doing that. And curbs and walkway painting, I get paint in here. The vendors are having a hard time getting paint. So if that does come in, we'll execute that. We got some areas that we want to hit on that. Thought he did pretty good on that.
You did very well.
So,
I got one on telephone poles. I noticed, and there's one right in front of my house, but why are they ones falling over?
yeah, so we talked about that last time. Yep,
They're like
so
that.
Power and Light comes in, they do their thing. They must not communicate with CenturyTel or Spectrum or whoever's on the pole.
Yep,
So they cut their portion off and leave until the other people decide to move their wires over.
okay. So they're just waiting
And
on that.
and that's
and they're
been,
gonna pull 'em.
you can complain, and I don't think you'll make any ground on that.
Okay.
Yeah, we discussed that at the last
I
meeting
think
too.
that's been in discussion for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately,
I mean, some of them, mine's not too bad, but there's some that look pretty rough out there,
yeah.
which is why they're replacing them. Just hate to see one fall over.
That's probably the only way it'll get
Yeah,
fixed.
nice.
For future agenda items that we want to bring up, if you think of anything, just let Mike know, let Adam know, to get it on the agenda. So, the next meeting date, we'll have, pending if we have a substantial, we'll have Karen work her magic as she normally does,
Yep.
and we'll go from there. So, anything else for the good of the order?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I will second
We
that
have a motion to adjourn in a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?